Hello everybody, myself Dr. Ranjan Sarkar. Now I will be talking about sustainable development, and this is for the students of B.Ed semester 4 under, and this is under course 11 unit 4. Sustainable development, the concept of sustainable development. So first of all, I would like to discuss few things which is very much relevant with sustainable development. Why sustainable development is necessary, why we should go for the study of sustainable development, and why this is so relevant nowadays. So first of all, sustainable development nowadays is a central concept for every aspect. It may be social, it may be environmental, it may be population. In every subject the term is being used oftenly. Sustainable development is a way of understanding the world and a method for solving global problems. As we all know, there are 7.2 billion people on this planet, roughly 9 times the 800 million people estimated to have lived in the year 1750, and which was at the start of industrial revolution. So the world population continues to rise rapidly by around 75 to 80 million people per year. Soon enough, there will be 8 billion by the 2020 and perhaps 9 billion by the early 2040s. So these billions of people are looking for their foothold in the world economy. The poor are struggling to find the food, safe water, healthcare, and safe shelter they need for mere survival. Those just above poverty are looking for improved prosperity and a brighter future for their children. Those in the high income world are hoping that technological advances will offer them and their families even higher levels of well being. So it seems that the upper rich also jostle for their place on the world ranking of richest people. In short, what we can say, 7.2 billion people are looking for economic improvement simply. So this is real mere truth, and why we are going for this comparison, as this is not all that meaningful, since most of the world economy today consists of goods and services that did not even exist 250 years back. What we know is that the world economy is vast, growing rapidly by 3 to 4% per year in scale, and highly unequal in the distribution of income within countries and between countries. The world where we live, at least 1 billion people, they are living in such of abject poverty, that is extreme poverty, that they are struggling every day for their survival. The poorest of the poor face the daily life and death challenges of insufficient nutrition, lack of healthcare facility, unsafe shelter, and lack of safe drinking water, sanitation, and so on. The world economy is not only remarkably unequal but also remarkably threatening to the planet itself. As we know, the gigantic world economy is creating a gigantic environmental issues and crises, one that threatens human well-being and even the survival of millions of other species on the planet. Humanity is changing the Earth's climate, the availability of fresh water, the ocean chemistry, and the habitats of other species. These impacts are now so large that the Earth itself is undergoing unmistakable changes in the functioning of key processes. And what are these processes? These are cycles of water, nitrogen and carbon cycles, upon which life depends. We don't know the precise scaling, timing, and implications of these changes, but we do know enough to understand that they are extremely dangerous and unprecedented in the span of humanity's 10,000 years of civilization. Thus, we arrive and we are thinking right now and we are approaching towards sustainable development. What is sustainable development and what sustainable development is all about? Sustainable development tries to make sense of the interactions of three complex systems. First one, the world economy. Second one, the global society. And the third one, the Earth's physical environment. And the third one is most important in that perspective. How does an economy of 7.2 billion people and 90 trillion US dollar gross world output change over time? What causes economic growth? Why does poverty persist? What happens when billions of people are suddenly interconnected through markets, technology, finance, and social networks? How does a global society of such inequality of income, wealth, and power function? So we must think all these things in detail. Can the poor escape their fate? And what happens when the world economy is on collision course with the physical environment? Is there a way to change course? A way to combine economic development with environmental sustainability? So, sustainable development is also a normative outlook on the world, which recommends a set of goals to which the world should aspire. In this normative sense rather, sustainable development calls for a world in which economic progress is widespread, extreme poverty is eliminated, social trust is encouraged through policies that strengthen the community, and the environment is protected from human induced degradation. Sustainable development also recommends a holistic framework in which society aims for economic, social, and environmental goals. So, the term sustainable development was used in the literature that is called Brundtland Commission's report in 1987 that was published, and where it is mentioned as sustainable development meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Actually, we should use all the things, but we have to think the future generations also what they will use when they will come to the world, well, when they will be the future citizen. So we have to keep ourselves, we have to keep something for our future generations too. That we did not we should not use everything what we have today. We have to preserve something for our future generations too. It has certain objectives and goals to achieve for the overall development of mankind. So before that, what we will see right now, that is, the World Commission on Environment and Development in its report Our Common Future in 1987 defined sustainable development. Again, I am repeating that one as the development which meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sustainable development does not mean a return to a pre-industrial or pre-technological era. It calls for continued economic growth and for business and industry to play a key role in achieving sustainable livelihood for all people, alleviating poverty and improving living standards while maintaining the integrity of the global environment. But the process has been hindered by conceptual obstacle. The belief that economic progress and the environmental protection are mutually opposite goals. Human survival on the earth is the key factor for environmental degradation. Factors responsible for environmental degradation are population, deforestation, economic development, emission of greenhouse gas, carbon dioxide, methane, etc., and which leads rise to the temperature of the earth. This has led to greenhouse effect, which can cause melting the ice caps, leading to rise in sea levels. It can submerge coastal areas and even few countries, affecting the line of people and mankind, them environmental refugees. We very well know the refugees have social and political dynamics for problems when they migrate, causing security threats for their countries. Similarly, ozone depletion can create a lot of environmental problems, and as we all know. So, what we can do? So, Mahatma Gandhi once rightly pointed out there's enough in the world to meet the needs of everyone, but there's not enough to meet the greed of everyone. So, we are facing this problem right now. We want more growth, more economic growth. The people who are living in developed countries, they are consuming much, and they are likely to consuming much. And those who don't have, they are accommodating themselves with very little, very minimum, and this is the fate. So, in sustainable development, it has some objectives or goals to achieve for the overall development process of mankind. What is this? What are these? We are common. We are common human beings having same future. We have to go through the life cycles. The development process must be participatory from all sections of people. Participatory approach should be there. The objectives are same for all of us, for our well-being, but ways might be different. The development process must be balanced and conducive with nature. That should be our motto, conducive with nature. The development process must be continuous and long term. Equal distribution and social justice should be taken care of, and all development process must be integrated and coordinated. Robert Ripeto in 1986 in his book Global Possible, where he said that sustainable development is a continuous process that considers all natural and human resources as a means to achieve certain goals or objectives. This development process should not be contradictory with nature. Rather, it should be corollary with natural productive process. So, sustainable development should be ecologically conformable, economically viable, and socially acceptable. This should be the spirit of sustainable development. So, sustainable development, the term first coined by Kokoyok, COCOYOC, Kokoyok Declaration in 1970. Since then, the term has gained publicity and popularity. And the term is being used everywhere nowadays. The term sustainable development went through threadbare discussion in different subsequent international summits like IUCN Report 1980-1990, the World Commission on Environment and Development WCD report that is named Our Common Future in 1987, that is Brundtland Commission report also. This famous Brundtland Commission, named after Norwegian Prime Minister Brundtland, Graham Brundtland, prepared a report for our common future. From there, we got the definition. It's prescribed sustainability as the only way out to wipe out the increasing danger visible on the future survival of mankind. The Earth Summit Rio de Janeiro 1992 reaffirmed that sustainable development as the long-term strategy for human development. Not only international development reports, but with individuals like Barbier 1987, Daly 1989, Fezzi 1989, and Rees 1988 also tried earnestly to develop the idea of sustainability of development. What should be the objective of sustainable development? Despite different opinions among different countries, commissions, and international agencies, major objectives of sustainable development may be provision of basic human requirements like food, shelter, clothes, health, education, etc., with minimum distribution of natural ecosystem. With minimum disturbance of natural ecosystem. Number two, environment and biodiversity should be preserved from the for the ultimate future of mankind. Individual and countries should be integrated to the process of sustainable development. And to explain the objectives of sustainable development, the Secretary General of the UNCED, Maurice F. Strong, warned, "We have been literally living off the Earth's capital, and that capital is being seriously depleted. We cannot continue to run out planet this way anymore. Then we could run a business for long by running down and living off its capital. Indeed, our Earth, if it were an incorporated entity, would be headed for bankruptcy if we continue on our present course." Unquote. Different views agreed on some basic objectives of sustainable development, and this can be under creation of conditions that ensure the future survival of human beings and other living species, creation of environment that provides and satisfies at least elementary basic requirements, creation of environment that sustains biological and natural productivity system, creation of conducive environment that accelerates economic development, efficiency, and long-term prosperity, creation of the sustainability that helps preservation and protection of environment and ecosystem, provision of social justice along with eradication of poverty and inequality. Next one, creation of self-sufficient economy and participatory environment, mass participatory environment. Next one, lowering of population growth, particularly in the developing world, protection of regional cultural cultures or cultural diversity, regional knowledge, and age old time tested eco friendly practices. And there are two limits of sustainable development. Someone is calling that is these are inner and outer limits of sustainable development. The noted environmentalist Barbara Ward, he first coined the word inner and outer limits of sustainability to express the different limits, limiting forces that works against sustainable development. What is inner limit? The inner limits are always reflected by the internal socio-economic inequality within the population, while outer limits are social cohesion. Beyond those two limits, sustainable development cannot sustain. It breaks down suddenly. Social disharmony and inequality among inhabitants lead to environmental disorder, war, social tension, or ethnic conflict. And to break or burden the outer and inner limit of growth of certain measures, he recommended some the following things. Number one, present pattern of production and consumption should be in accordance with strict environmental norms so that it could be both socially and economically sustainable. Number two, inequality among people should be minimized. Number three, enhancing creativity and sensitivity so that lifestyle and activities should be diverse and people would get plenty of consumption choices. Ethical and moral values should be preserved and mass education should be implemented to curb materialistic consumption. Next one, participation of the people in the decision making process. Next one, diversification of economy to enable the population to select their lifestyle. Next, last one, poverty alleviation program and eradication of economic imbalance program is essential. So, Sustainable Development, the Norway Roundtable in 1995 laid down some basic principles on sustainable development. To achieve the goal of sustainable development, the convention adhered the use of goods and services that respond to basic needs and bring a better quality of life, while minimizing the use of natural resources, toxic materials, and emissions of waste and pollutants over the life cycle, so as not to jeopardize the needs of future generations. So, unsuitable consumption pattern is more visible in physical infrastructure like energy, housing, transport, and waste management. Cultural habits and social outlook is responsible for that. Here it is also mentioned that the business and industrialist community has specific role to manage environmental impact of the goods and services it provides. Political institutions have a role to change consumption pattern rather than consumption volumes. For rectification in chain of production, consumption and final disposal, government must provide incentive measures, infrastructure facilities, proper leadership and legislative regulations. Responsible organizations like trade unions must involve themselves in the agenda of consumption and production pattern change. Individuals and finally individuals have the great role in different aspects like consumer, householder, worker, decision maker and even as voter. So Sustainable development is a kind of development. As we all know, development is a common phenomena and it will be continued till human civilization persists. So, development will go on. That is nothing new. Since inception, since human civilization, development is a continuous process and it is going on and it will be going on. It will be continued throughout. But the but the concept we have to adopt, that is sustainability. Basically, three sort of sustainability we have to accommodate. That is concept of economic sustainability, concept of social sustainability, and concept of environmental sustainability. But we generally think about what is sustainable development, only think about environmental sustainability. Environmental sustainability is most important, but we should not forget that environmental sustainability is not enough to survive human society. So these three sort of sustainability, that is economic sustainability, social sustainability, and environmental sustainability, will work together in a collaborative way so that desired desired line of development should take place, and side by side we should not jeopardize, we should not pollute our environment as we are doing now for the future generations, for the well-being of the for future citizens, for the future generations. Thank you so much. This is all about this class. Next time, next class, we will be discussing on further aspects of sustainable development. Thank you so much for listening to the class.